Alright, here's the newest update on the Wizard Wars development. Here's the playtest. Just going to show you. We got a main menu going, so we've got some functional UI. It's bare bones right now, but it's holding it together. You can edit your loadout. Now this is just a little blueprint, essentially, of what it's going to look like. This isn't really functional in many ways, but you do have a wizard switcher, so you can change what wizard you have equipped. We can add other sorts of customizations here, like color switcher, maybe a rotator, and then obviously spells. You could get a more detailed spell menu too, like you click this, expand into a grid, but all sorts of possibilities. But for now, it's functionality, and so you can pick from the 3 spells we have available. So I'll put a lightning in the left hand and a water in the right hand, and we'll play the game. And this just loads us into the test level, but as you can see, right hand has water, left hand has lightning. And it looks like it's firing from the right hand positionally, so, we'll refine that later on. That's all polish, but yeah, basically, that's the beginnings of the game having a functional UI that ties into its systems. Oh yeah, and so I also added the lightning bolt, which explodes when it contacts and doesn't when it misses. It's also got a little bit of luminosity there. It's a texture I made. It's pretty cool. See, boom. Oh, huge lag spike. Okay. Yeah, the waters don't do anything yet on impact, but they'll probably splash. And I was thinking, put a dark translucent surface down to demonstrate like a puddle, and then if lightning hits that, the puddle can become electrified. So that's, elemental interactions there. I also added explosions to the fireball. I'll get that going. I should hit thumbs like method to make them explode. Yes. So yeah. And the explosions were a bit of a pain in the butt to get working, but they are working now, so yeah, I get some special effects that look pretty cool in my opinion. Probably make them a little smaller or more appropriately sized to the fireball. Right now the scaling is a little bit exponential, I think. Yeah, if you hold it very long, you get a very big fireball. Whoa. Yeah, and I want to also make it so that you can't... Right now my left hand is charging, but the fist isn't closed. And that's because I started charging before the animation finished. You see there's an animation there. So I'll have to fix that, put some sort of gate to stop people from charging before the hand goes back to its original position. But yeah, those are just little things. I'll add a mana system so that every time you cast, it drains a little bit of your mana, and the mana will replenish over time. I'll add basically a health system. So that, wizards have health. If you reduce a wizard's health to 0, you'll get a point. Yeah, something along those lines. And we'll get some real maps going, like a labyrinth. There will be pickup spells that you can pick up in the map, all sorts of things. But for now, yeah, we got a menu, a lightning bolt, and a system, a scalable system. Can even show you a little bit of this. Okay, we've got game save, right? Oh yeah, actually I don't know if you noticed, but if I start it up again, the game closed. You go to the loadout, it's the same thing I left it as. Yep, and now we got the other 2 things we equipped, water and fire. Thinking if these 2 collide, there will be like a steam cloud. You could use that as like a smoke screen. But yeah, game's completely closed again. Open it up. Loadout's the same. You could have 2 lightning bolts. Although right now I think they share the same charge value, so I'll have to distinguish the charge values between the hands. Ooh, he just kicked a box. You see that, dude? Alright, oh yeah, okay. So here's what happens at runtime. We run the load. It loads from the game save, the game instance. Basically this specific data, which includes two spell class references. One I've designated as left, one I've designated as right. Since they're class references, it has to then spawn the class. then it sets each of them to a variable, which the variable gets referenced over here, so that no matter which one it is, the variable stores it and then references it, because they all share a parent spell class. So that's kind of like the spell system. That's why it's scalable. If I add a new spell, I just what do I do? Okay, so right now we have 3 spells. They're tied to the loadout menu. So if we go here to the menu, go to the loadout menu, go to the graph. It's also tied to a data table. So when you click the menu button in the loadout to back out, it is when it saves its data. So it's a little convoluted at the moment, but it references. I got to get the data table up for you guys. Where did I put that thing? Here it is. Okay, that's the loadout table. This is spell table. There's 2 tables because I was struggling a bit with this system. I think this is the one because look, there's 3 rows. They're named 0, 1, and 2 to match with an index. That index currently is tied to, essentially, it's not even a variable. You know, this is pretty dirty coding. I'm definitely going to have to polish this up later. But the image buttons track their own sort of index between 0, the start, that's the same for each of them, and, well, this one is 0 and 2. The other are all 0 and 2 as well because they cycle between 3, right? 0, 1, 2. So basically, there's my train of thought there. it's an index. They're indexes that practically exist within the code. And it references, and they're tied to the widget switchers, right? So we get this is a spell switcher, right? Spell switcher left. That's these things here, right, left. Spell switches are widget switchers, and these things keep track of their own indexes, and that's the widget they're currently on. So it just grabs that straight out of the code, turns that into text through these 2 nodes, gets the row name because the index is going to be the same as the row name because I named the rows after the indexes and I made sure manually that they're the same ones. C0 is lightning, 1 is fire, 2 is water. And it gets that data row, right? So the one piece of data that's actually in here, so the name, right, we just went over just the name of the row. What's actually in here is a data asset reference. Oh my god, this is even more convoluted than I thought. That's not even the spell reference that I kind of thought it was going to be. Okay, so it gets out the spell. It then gets the class defaults from that data asset. So data asset's kind of like a data table. So we get a data table that references a data asset that gets a piece of data out of that data asset, which is a soft reference to the spell component class. Maybe I could just put the soft reference here. I don't know. But yeah, so it gets a data asset. Gets the one piece of data out of the data asset. The data asset's used for other things. It's important to the code. And then it saves it. It saves the soft... Oh, it turns the soft class reference into just a plain class reference. That's why it goes from pink to dark purple. And then it saves it. And so the save interface is tied to the game instance. And so when it saves, it just references its own save game here. Which is the only save game, which just stores all the persistent data, and then it saves all that data to it, and that data includes the spells themselves, as well as the indexes, because I thought maybe those would be important. It saves the indexes. All these pins are the data that gets saved to the system, essentially, at that moment. Also, whenever it loads, it then loads that data. It doesn't need those two, because this is just the menu. But the player, when the player loads, it will show you or will gather that data because it's loading from the same interface and the same game instance blueprint because that's persistent across the entire game. So it loads that, it takes the class reference, turns it into an actual object, sets it to a variable, uses the variable to then cast a function that's common across any type of class that could possibly be spawned here. So now we can make new spells under the master spell parent. This is the spell component base. Every spell has a charge and a fire functionality. All you have to do is define what parameters are created there, basically. And then I make a new spell. It's like, all right, so I'll just drag out what it does on fire here. Then I do have to manually create a data asset for it. That's this thing here. So this is the child of this. This is the data asset of that specific one. So it includes spell information, including this specific piece is the one that's referenced in the code. I just make a new one, name it after the spell, and then reference the component that's also being made. And then, so then we can scale up our spells. We can make new spells. We can just equip them in the menu. We can also have spells that will not appear in the menu until people level up. We can do all sorts of things. Anyways, so went a little deeper into the code than usual there. I could go over the lightning bolt as well, but I feel like this one's gone on pretty long, especially compared to the other devlogs. Basically, it just creates a spline. It draws points from the character to the end of a sphere trace, and then it draws a spline between those points, stretches out a spline mesh, and then draws the lightning bolt. But you saw that already. So, Wizard Wars is continuing. That's the next devlog.